We've taken a look at the basic elements of an Android app. Now let's look at input and output controls in more detail. The input controls are things like button, toggle button, radio button, and image button. Also available are checkboxes, switches, the seek bar, which is sometimes called the slider, and the spinner. And there's two different kinds of ways of interacting with text with your user. The text field is a simple text input box that you've seen on many web forms. You've seen it on many apps. For example, if you go to the Contacts application and you're filling in a first name and a last name, the kind of control that accepts the name, you tap on it, the keyboard shows up, and you can type in your name, is a text field. There are multiple kinds of text fields. There's the simple text field, and there's also kinds that only accept names, which mean they do things like automatically capitalize the first letter. There's text fields which only accept passwords, which means they show the letter as you're typing it, and then they turn it into a symbol so that when you get done, you have a series of symbols across the screen, like dots or stars, so that someone looking over your shoulder can't read your password. There are text fields that only accept email addresses, which show a custom kind of keyboard that only shows letters and numbers and a limited number of symbols, plus the @ sign and the dot, so that it make it easy for you to input an email address. There are kinds of text fields that only accept phone numbers. They only accept individual numbers and automatically format it to show things like country code and area code and the first 3 digits and the last 4 digits of the phone number, and so forth. There are also output controls. Output controls are things like text view. Now, text view is both an input and an output control. So text view is designed to allow you to interact with multi-line data. That means it allows the user to be able to put in multiple lines of text with line breaks, and it also allows you to display that kind of data. There's a progress bar. Progress bar is the kind of thing you've seen when you download something. It shows you increasing filling from the left to the right in order to show the user that something's actually happening and how close they are to being done. There's a web view. Yes, that means you can actually show web pages or portions of web pages inside your app. You can have a button that says go to Google and embed Google inside your app, another button that says Bing, another button that says DuckDuckGo, another button that might say Yahoo. So you can put those kinds of things inside of a web view. Oftentimes, web views are also used for certain kinds of authentication. For example, if your app tries to sign into Facebook or Dropbox or LinkedIn, the control that you get from the vendor of those particular third-party services is always a web view, because that way they can build something that will show on all the many variations of Android devices that are out there. I mentioned before an image control. The image control is called image view, and that allows you to show images, and you can specify whether the images are stretched to fill the size of the web view, which image is shown in the web view, and various other properties depending upon how sophisticated your development environment is. And there's even a video view to allow you to embed streaming video right into your app. So all you need to do is drop in a video view, and you can go ahead and show streaming video from a server that you have access to. For sophisticated Android development, there's also a variety of layout controls. There's frame layout that allows you to position things anywhere you want. There's linear layout, both horizontal and vertical. As I mentioned, you can have controls that stack one on top of the other from top to bottom or from left to right. There's a table layout that allows you to set up rows and columns. There's a grid layout, which is a little bit different than table layout, that allows you to position things inside of a particular grid. And there's relative layout, so that you can say, I want this to be positioned relative to the top of another object or relative to the bottom of another object. Now, not all of these layout controls, or all of the controls we've just seen, are available in every development environment. But it's good to know that these things are possible, so that if you start working with one particular development environment and find out that it can't do all the things you want to do, you'll know it's possible to then move up to a higher level, more sophisticated development environment in order to do that. One of the great things about these simple Android development tools is that it can help you, as a person with an idea for a great app, build a prototype in order to be able to show a professional developer what you want, or to work out whether or not what you really want to do is even possible. It's good to know the kinds of things that can be done, even if the tool you're going to be using can't do everything you want to do. There's another kind of view which is called a container. You've all seen radio buttons, the kind of things that allow you to choose whether your salutation is Mr., Mrs., Ms., or other, but you can only choose one. And in order to group radio controls so that you can only choose one, you might have more than one group of radio controls on a single activity. For example, you might have salutation, where you want Mr., Mrs., Ms., Doctor, or other, and you might also have suffix, none, junior, senior, the third, and so forth. In order to group the radio buttons together so that they work interactively so that only one of the things in a group can be selected, whereas you can have another group where another one of the things in the group is selected, you put your radio buttons inside of a radio group. There's a list view. You've seen scrolling lists of things in your contacts. Well, that's done using a list view, which allows you to put together a list of items, and it automatically handles the scrolling for you. Now, that uses something called a scroll view. A list view allows you to stack together a list of things that you have. A scroll view might be the way in which you look at a picture. So, for example, you could scroll around, you can pan the picture up or to the left or to the right in order to be able to see a picture that's bigger than the size you can fit on your screen. And finally, some kinds of applications use tabs, like browser tabs. And there's a control that allows you to create a tabbed environment, and that control is called a tab host. That's a look at the basic input and output and layout controls. Next up, we'll look at the sensors, effectors, and storage that you can use inside your app.